The coffee roasting. I am Abby Huntsman, and Donald Trump is on the attack and firing up the crowds like never before.
As you have seen, I am a victim of one of the great political smear campaigns in the history of our country.
Trump going after his accusers, the media, and even the prompter.
Get that prompter out of here.
Well, ask Hillary's own supporters what they think of their candidate. God, her instincts are suboptimal. That's from one of her top aides. The new emails from her own people leaked today. Wait till you see them.
And it's one of the Democrats' favorite attack lines.
He has really started his political activity based on this racist lie that our first black president was not an American citizen.
Well, this morning, the truth about the birther movement comes out, and wait until you hear who really started it. Fox and Friends begins right now. Good Saturday morning, everyone.
It's great to see.
Nice to see all of you.
Happy Huntsman, ladies and gentlemen.
Happy Huntsman. We are so super excited. We've all been listening to Kenny Loggins' music this morning. So he's going to be here on the show. We've been playing Footloose this morning.
Favorite Kenny Loggins tune?
This Is It is my favorite Kenny Loggins tune. What about you? Do you have one?
I'm with you completely,
this is it,
as always.
I love the Winnie the Pooh song.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I have to
It is
give
a
it a
good
shout out.
song.
It's
adorable.
I'm for it. I'm totally for it.
My mom and I love that song.
He'll be here a little bit later. He's got a brand new kids. He's doing a new kids project. There, it's another beautiful song. Kenny Loggins in the house this morning. We're going to ease you into Saturday morning.
Yes, we are.
Like a warm
good
bath.
morning. But here's a jarring note. Back to the presidential race now in progress 3 weeks to go. Donald Trump firing back over mounting sexual assault accusations
from the left, and the GOP nominee claiming it's all part of the biggest smear campaign in history.
Peter Doocy is cutting loose this morning from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where Trump will be holding a rally this afternoon. Good morning, Peter.
Peter, what is your favorite song from Kenny Loggins?
It's got to be Footloose.
Of course.
Listening to it all morning.
Yeah.
Most mornings.
Most mornings.
But yeah, so this morning Donald Trump is coming up here to New England, but last night he was down in North Carolina, and he was trying to stick to the script, but the teleprompters that were guiding him just stopped working. So instead of calling off stage for help, Mr. Trump took it upon himself to take them apart. And a little later, by the end of his speech, they were both gone. The big crowd down there in North Carolina did seem to get a big kick out of it, and Trump says that he likes speaking without the prompter anyway, so it really didn't slow things down very much at all. Trump did also expand his defense last night against multiple women accusing him of sexual misconduct, and he complained about being picked apart by the press over these decades-old claims that are not supported, he says, by any hard evidence or first-hand witness accounts. And his theory that the Clinton campaign is coordinating or encouraging these women coming forward did seem to flesh out a little bit yesterday when Gloria Allred, who was a Hillary Clinton delegate at this summer's Democratic convention, introduced the latest accuser.
As you have seen, I am a victim of one of the great political smear campaigns in the history of our country. They are coming after me to try and destroy what is considered by even them the greatest movement in the history of our country.
And Trump's got a pretty packed schedule today. Tonight, he's going to speak at a dinner in New Jersey. This afternoon, he's going to have a rally at an arena in Maine. And around lunchtime, we expect him here at Toyota of Portsmouth. It's a place that he has been before last January during the primaries for the Scott Brown No BS barbecue. So voters in this area know him well. They saw him when he was in the primaries, and they are about to see him as he is now with just about 3 weeks left as the nominee. Back to you in New York.
Peter Doocy,
Thanks,
live
Peter.
on the Piscataqua River.
Thanks, Peter.
What a great town.
Nope.
By the end of his speech, they were both gone. The big crowd down there in North Carolina did seem to get a big kick out of it, and Trump says that he likes speaking without the prompter anyway, so it really didn't slow things down very much at all. Trump did also expand his defense last night against multiple women accusing him of sexual misconduct, and he complained about being picked apart by the press over these decades-old claims that are not supported, he says, by any hard evidence or first-hand witness accounts. And his theory that the Clinton campaign is coordinating or encouraging these women coming forward did seem to flesh out a little bit yesterday when Gloria Allred, who was a Hillary Clinton delegate at this summer's Democratic convention, introduced the latest accuser.
As you have seen, I am a victim of one of the great political smear campaigns in the history of our country. They are coming after me to try and destroy what is considered by even them the greatest movement in the history of our country.
And Trump's got a pretty packed schedule today. Tonight, he's going to speak at a dinner in New Jersey. This afternoon, he's going to have a rally at an arena in Maine. And around lunchtime, we expect him here at Toyota of Portsmouth. It's a place that he has been before last January during the primaries for the Scott Brown No BS barbecue. So voters in this area know him well. They saw him when he was in the primaries, and they are about to see him as he is now with just about 3 weeks left as the nominee. Back to you in New York.
Peter Ducey, live
Peter.
on the Piscataqua River.
Thanks, Peter.
What a great town.
No BS barbecue. That sounds kind of good.
Yeah, it was a good time. So for years, critics of the Clintons have raised questions about their foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative, and the basic worry about both of these organizations is they're taking money from foreign governments in exchange for favors done by the U.S. government. And people have alleged that for a long time, but it was only with the release of these Wikileaks emails this week that some proof emerged.
Yeah, from an independent law firm. They had an independent law firm look into this, Simpson and Thatcher, and they reviewed it, and they found this. Failures by, they're sort of slamming the board of directors here, basically saying they don't even show up for meetings. And they're saying failures by boards of directors in fulfilling their fiduciary responsibilities may arise when a board leaves governing responsibility to a small number of people, some of whom may have conflicts of interest that can mar their judgment. The foundation's outside auditors noted the lack of board meetings and that board minutes are not even signed. This weakness was not corrected even after being noted by the auditors. Now, what I found interesting in this review also is that Chelsea Clinton was concerned about all of this.
And
that's what really stood out to me. She wanted this reviewed and looked into, and there were sort of internal discussions about this spoiled little brat looking into our dealings.
Right, because you basically have Bill and Hillary at the top of this thing. There's no transparency here whatsoever. And we've seen in some of the other emails that Chelsea Clinton is concerned about how all this is being operated, how this might look if her mom decides to run for president.
Exactly.
I mean, she was really aware of this as the daughter.
Hundreds of millions of dollars being exchanged here. The idea that, as you pointed out, we're going to donate, foreign leaders, despots are going to donate money, and we're going to provide favors in return.
And that was affirmed by this review, which, by the way, just to restate for the third time, was called for by Chelsea Clinton. This is not something the right-wing media made up. This was an independent law firm looking into this, and they go on to say people who are giving money to the Clinton Foundation expect something in return, a quid pro quo, from the U.S. government. Basically, this is an access selling scheme.
Yeah. And it's amazing to read some of the internal emails slamming Hillary Clinton. Basically, you know, like I said, calling her a spoiled brat, telling her she shouldn't really be sniffing her nose in this, just to, like, look elsewhere.
To Chelsea, exactly right. Oh, well, all the parasites clinging on to her parents getting rich from their access to the former president were saying, wait a second, Chelsea Clinton should back off here. She's getting in the way of our...
this little spoiled brat that she is. I think if you take a step back, you know, the takeaway here is just the Clintons continuing to scoot the law when other people get punished for doing some of the things that they have done. Also, just how calculated they have been through this whole process. And there was an email exchange with Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, Robbie Mook, talking about the Wall Street speeches that we know that both Hillary and Bill were giving at that time. And here's what he said. He said, if we're announced on the 12th, the 13th, and he's speaking to a Wall Street bank on the 15th, that is begging for a bad rollout.
So he's talking about Bill Clinton, who's about to give a speech to Morgan Stanley, and he cites polling data from Iowa, a state that they wanted to win. He says, look, people in Iowa are really worried about the influence of Wall Street. Maybe Bill Clinton should, like, forego this one speech.
Right.
Well, guess who wanted him to give the speech? Guess who wanted the money so bad, because they only made $250 million in the last 20 years, so, like, they need the money. Hillary Clinton, John and Robbie. HRC is reiterating her original position. She does not want him to cancel.
So
from Aberdeen.
So she does not want him to cancel this speech. And to your point about the polling data out of Iowa, so she's set to announce her candidacy, comes out, and then she's gonna be in Iowa, and he says Wall Street ranks among the first for Iowans among the list of institutions that, quote, take advantage of everyday Americans, scoring twice as high as the general election electorate. This is a very big deal in my view. He's telling Hillary Clinton, look, we've got to get Bill to not give this speech. It's not going to resonate well in Iowa because they're going to see him as disconnected.
Yeah, so just all you got to do is pretend you're not in the pocket of big finance just for a little while now. And Hillary Clinton says, no, we want the payday. Now, look, I'm totally for capitalism. I'm totally for making money. Obviously, I'm not against giving speeches. I'm for it. But this is greed. I mean, you're basically pursuing money to your own detriment.
It's so interesting. This is like the books that you read after a campaign is over, and you read about all the gossip and the nonsense that goes on. Yet we're reading it live while the campaign is happening, just weeks before the election. What I also found interesting is how the Clinton campaign and her small family around her actually feels about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, look at this. This is an email from Neera Tanden, who writes this in an email. She says, Hillary, God, her instincts are suboptimal.
Now, Neera Tanden is the head of the Center for American Progress. She's very close to Hillary Clinton, one of her key policy advisors, and knows her well enough to pass that judgment.
So we were digging around on Google Trends this morning, which really shows how people are searching on the internet for keywords and topics, right? So when people punch into Google Trends the topic Trump, here, look at these two different ones, Trump women or WikiLeaks. Look what has the overwhelming number of searches. WikiLeaks. People interested in what's going on with these emails. Huge spikes across the country. And if you look at the heat map, this is daily. It's all across the United States, into Canada, all the way over to Africa, or WikiLeaks searches.
But you don't see that when you turn on just the different channels, in cable and mainstream news.
Right,
those numbers don't add up.
Reflected. You think that would be mirrored in like the primetime?
Well, yeah, because there's one story we've sort of known for a long time. Trump's vulgar. Okay, yeah, he was on Howard Stern a lot. And then these emails tell us stuff we didn't know. So isn't this newsworthy? We think it is. The networks do not. Here is a side-by-side comparison of the number of minutes the networks gave last night to these two stories.
Are we shocked by this? I mean, this is, we repeat this on a regular basis. Wow. I mean, 4 minutes on ABC News, 1 minute, for WikiLeaks, for Trump, 4 minutes.
What about NBC News? They gave precisely 0 minutes. They ignored the story like it never happened. Now, why did they do that?
Well, I think there's a lot going on there.
Well, there may be, and part of it is one of their own employees, John Harwood, who also works for the New York Times, but he works over at CNBC as well, was caught in these emails giving campaign advice to the Hillary Clinton for President campaign. Just totally busted. So rather than addressing this, NBC decides the story never happened. Down the memory hole, full Soviet, we're just going to erase you from the picture. It never happened.
Can I just say, though, we talked about this last week, and I just find this to be a sad time for America, because here we are just a few weeks before this election. We're not even talking about issues that impact people's daily lives. We're not even talking about the economy. We're not talking about foreign policy. We're not talking about energy. We're not talking about anything that really matters. And so I think that's sad. And I think that's why people are frustrated with this election and where we are, and in terms of who they're going to go vote for.
You know what would be really interesting is if the august television broadcast networks decide to do like side-by-side comparisons of the policies of the candidates. So like, what is Hillary's immigration policy? What's Trump's? The middle class is dying. What are these guys going to do about it? They don't tell us any of this. It's like, oh, Trump is, naughty, or, people are mad at him. Okay. I get it. I believe it. That's fine. But what are they going to do if elected president?
And that's what I find the most troubling of all these WikiLeaks is the Wall Street speeches where Hillary Clinton is talking about policy, and it's so different from what we're hearing out on the stump.
That is a great point.
More on that later. But we do have some other headlines that we've got to get to this morning. And we start with this, a Fox News alert. The CIA preparing a major cyber attack against Russia. Vice President Joe Biden says the Obama administration would be sending a message to Russian President Vladimir Putin while trying to, quote, embarrass the Kremlin. The White House has formally blamed the Russian government for hacking the DNC and supplying emails to WikiLeaks. And then another alert coming in overnight, a police officer shot in the head.
All units to respond.
San Francisco police confronting a mentally ill man at a shopping plaza when he opened fire. One of the officers suffering a serious graze wound to the head. Officers exchanging gunfire, wounding the suspect, who is now in custody. Thankfully, the wounded officer is expected to be okay. And starting today, the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 is grounded. Passengers no longer allowed to bring those potentially explosive phones on U.S. flights. The emergency order bans people from packing the phone in luggage or carrying them on board. And this, of course, all comes after Samsung stopped making and recalled nearly 3 million phones after multiple reports of phones exploding.
Samsung sending fireproof packaging to people to send them back.
It's terrible.
I shouldn't laugh. It's an
Stop
awful
using
story.
them.
Can you imagine if you were a Samsung shareholder? The phone's great. It's just, but it does blow up and burn things down.
Otherwise, go ahead and buy them.
So awful. Right. All right. Looks like someone accidentally spilled the beans about Hillary Clinton's plan to take your guns away.
If there's still a Republican control in Congress, and if Hillary is elected, is there anything she could do to?
Well, there might be executive order.
Yep, that's it. They're just taking them from you. What does Trump have in mind? David Webb on the candidates' plans for the Second Amendment. That's next. Caught on camera, former Democratic Wisconsin Senator Russ Feingold telling the truth about Hillary Clinton's strategy to take guns out of your hands, law-abiding America. Watch this.
If there's Republican control in Congress, and if Hillary is elected, is there anything she could do to?
Well, there might be executive order.
Executive orders, not through Congress, our most democratic institution, but straight from the White House, taking your guns away. Well, what both candidates have planned for the Second Amendment? Here to weigh in is radio talk show host, our old friend David Webb. David, it's great to see you this morning.
Morning.
So that's just, I mean, that's the truth. You're not going to get real gun control, gun grabbing legislation through the Congress. You're just not. People don't want it.
They're not going to get it through Democrats in Congress, not just Republicans.
Because the public doesn't want it. But who cares what the public wants? She's going to do it anyway.
Yeah, and this just goes to the way they approach things. The Democrats, Russ Feingold, where Hillary Clinton sits. If we can't get it done the right way, then we'll impede. What have they done in all these jurisdictions around America? Democrats find ways to impede or hinder your right to bear arms, your Second Amendment rights to buy arms. They find every which way to get in your way. They create safe zones or fake safe zones. You can't have it within 1,500 yards of this. But the American people have decided that we're going to stick with our Constitution. And that has got to seriously anger Hillary Clinton.
You wonder if it even matters. I mean, when they want to do anything, they want to make any social change at all, they do it through the agencies. They don't do it through the Congress anymore. So here, we're going to put a side-by-side gun question policies up on the screen. So Trump says he wants to focus on fixing the broken system, make concealed carry permits valid across all the states, improve mental health treatment. Hillary Clinton says she wants to expand background checks, remove legal protection for gun manufacturers, increase inspections on licensed arm dealers, ban assault weapons, whatever those are. So letting people, lawyers, sue gun manufacturers obviously is just a pinata party for
remove
for
the
trial
legal
lawyers.
protections for
But
any
here's my
industry.
question. Does anybody believe that will reduce gun violence?
No, because that's not about gun violence. That's about control as they see it. Think about this. If she says this time we're going to go after gun manufacturers, what's going to stop them from determining that another industry should be open to lawsuits? Maybe you should be able to sue the coal manufacturers, those who bring coal out of the ground and give us electricity, because you got lung cancer and it might have been tied to carbon.
So Hillary's taking more money from lawyers than from any other group.
Yeah.
This makes lawyers rich. Is there some connection?
Of course there is. They lobby. They know. The lawyers and the lawyers associations have been heavily embedded with the Democrat Party, and they lobby Republicans too. But they give to the Democrats because more rules, more bureaucracy, more regulations is more business for lawyers.
Exactly, and more lawsuits. But again, if you can find, and I hope you'll come back, if you can find one piece of social science that suggests that suing gun manufacturers will make America safer, I'd love to see it.
Well, here's my simple question. How does removing guns and the right to bear arms from law-abiding citizens reduce the criminal's desire to get and use a gun? It makes no sense, but they're determined.
Bracing common sense from David Webb this morning. It's early, but very welcome. Thank you, David.
Good to see you, Tucker.
Good to see you. Well, both presidential candidates are dealing with their own separate scandals this week. Is the press treating them fairly? Can you even be unfair to Donald Trump? Not in the mind of the average reporter. Hillary supporters probably think that our press is being tough on her. Our political panel debates that question next. And Billy Bush about to get a big payday from NBC to leave the network. There's a big story there. Wrongdoing at the Peacock. We've got the details coming up.
Welcome back, and a quick look at some headlines. At a Fox News alert, President Obama sending 500 more American troops to Iraq to take on ISIS. The soldiers from Fort Riley will serve in advising roles, training Iraqi special forces. And another alert, the hacker known as Guccifer, who exposed Hillary Clinton's private email server, is abruptly flown back to Romania after a judge there demanded that he be deported. He had been serving a 4-year prison sentence in Virginia after admitting to hacking more than 100 Americans. He's the only one involved in Clinton's email scandal to serve time in prison. Clayton, over to you.
Thanks, Abby. Well, the mainstream media hammering Donald Trump on the recent claims of sexual assault, while more Wikileaks bombshells on the Hillary Clinton campaign are being completely overlooked. So which candidate should the media be focusing on? Our political panel is here this morning to discuss. Ian Pryor, Communications Director of American Crossroads, Danielle McLaughlin in the middle, Democratic strategist and Hillary Clinton supporter, and then Camille Foster in the fall sweater ensemble this morning at Free Think Media and co-host of the Fifth Column podcast. Nice to see all of you this morning. Good to see you. Happy fall to all of you. So, Danielle, the argument from Democrats has long been, look, Hillary Clinton's negatives here are sort of baked into the pie. We all know Hillary Clinton. She's been vetted for years. Is the media treating her fairly? When asked, Democrats say, well, we all know this already. We don't even need to uncover it anymore.
At this point, I think, yes, I think what is happening with Donald Trump and these revelations are important and newsworthy. You know, the idea that the mainstream media is ignoring WikiLeaks, I don't think is true. I looked at the Wall Street Journal. There was a brutal piece on her yesterday. There were 17 articles between the Washington Post and the New York Times in the last 3 days.
But let's look at let's look at, first of all, Google Trends as an indicator of what people are searching for online, Camille. So take a look at this. This is yesterday. This is actually over a number of days. Look at this. 1 week. WikiLeaks was the most searched for term compared to Trump women, down significantly lower. And then you look at the nightly newscasts, and it's not a mirror image of that at all. In fact, Trump women gets way more coverage than does the WikiLeaks scandal. Take a look at the difference there in the numbers. So maybe while the Wall Street Journal is writing nasty pieces about Hillary Clinton, the mainstream media seems to be ignoring it.
Well, I'd say that the WikiLeaks brand is a pretty well-established one, and Trump women is one particular way in which someone might look for this. So I'm not certain that's the most scientific way to try to analyze whether or not people care about either issue,
what you're saying
more
is,
or less.
So you're saying that keywords are Trump groping might be another keyword.
that may be it. And, I mean, look, the key thing here is that this story with Donald Trump is a hell of a lot more salacious than sifting through thousands and thousands of emails to try to find out what most of us already know, that politics is corrupt and politicians will almost always be available to people who actually have resources to give and kind of play favorites. That happens in politics. That is to be expected.
Is that a good defense, though, that we kind of already knew this about Hillary Clinton, the quid pro quo at the Clinton Foundation, but now we have real concerns from Chelsea Clinton and which despots are donating money and who's able to then get favors from the Clinton Foundation? Now we see this in print?
No, I mean, I don't think it's a good defense, but I think that's correct. I mean, the media is going to look for a good meltdown. And what they see is Donald Trump, his poll numbers sinking, and they see a meltdown, and there's blood in the water. And then I think, look, the mainstream media is implicitly biased, and now you're seeing that become explicit. And I go back 4 years ago when Mitt Romney accidentally said binders full of women instead of binders full of women's resume, and there was a collective freak out in the media, and they made him out to be, well, Donald Trump, basically. And now you're seeing, well, now you have Donald Trump, and they're just going to go with that until the election, unless there's a smoking gun that comes out in one of Hillary's emails that confirms that the FBI was wrong or that the investigation was tainted.
Daniel, you're shaking your head.
No, and I agree, and I think in hindsight, many Democrats will admit that they went after Mitt Romney in a way that was inappropriate and used words that probably are better applied to Donald Trump, using words like dangerous and some of these things. I think in some ways Donald Trump got a pass from the mainstream media early on, certainly in the primaries, maybe because he was such a good story. You know, these Howard Stern tapes, the Howard Stern video. None of this is new. This has been around for a long, long time. And anyone who knew Trump or knew of Trump in the 90s and early 2000s knew exactly who he was. And so in some ways, I think the mainstream media did a disservice by not revealing this.
Are you saying, do you agree with Danielle here that maybe the media made Donald Trump? The media wanted this story and therefore overlooked some of the Howard Stern stuff, overlooked some of this NBC stuff, and instead focused on Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz?
Mayhaps. I think even more than that, however, is that it's just harder for voters to get particularly invested in some of the minutia of some of the controversies that are being dug up with respect to Hillary Clinton. It is much easier to wrap your head around a salacious sex scandal. It just worked a hell of a lot better for most people. And look, I think there's also something to be said for the fact that both candidates would much rather be talking about their opponent's negatives and digging into these stories. Even before the Trump women revelation started to happen, Donald Trump had made it pretty obvious that he was going to insist on doubling down and throwing a lot of mud and trying to get nasty things to stick to Hillary Clinton, because they both think that the best way for them to win this election is not to compete on ideas or to sell the virtues of their policies. It's to make the other guy or gal look completely unacceptable.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. And I think one other point that we shouldn't left unsaid is that the Clinton operation is not so much a temporary campaign. It is a political machine. The people that are working there have been working in politics for years. They've been dealing with the press for years, maintaining those relationships, as we see from these Wikileaks emails. So you're going to have a professional operation that's pushing these stories on a willing press versus Donald Trump, who really is a startup campaign. You know, it's going to be easier for the Clinton team to get traction with their stories because of those pre-existing relationships than it is for Trump to get his stories written and his stories covered in the same way.
Final word?
I have to say that there has been nothing from the Clinton camp about these Donald Trump revelations. As this tape was coming out from NBC, Clinton was out there talking about climate change with Al Gore. She was out there releasing a national service plan. So I think she is, and obviously I'm a supporter, but she has been hewing to issues in a way that I think is substantial.
She also goes dark when it's convenient for her. So
she knows, hey, if you're shooting yourself in the foot, step back.
Let Trump be Trump.
Right, exactly. Guys, great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for the political panel. We appreciate it. Well, it's one of the Democrats' favorite attack lines. Watch.
He has really started his political activity based on this racist lie that our first black president was not an American citizen.
Well, this morning, truth might be coming out about the birther movement, and wait until you hear who really started it. We'll have that. Ed Henry is on deck. There he is in the hallway to react to this bombshell. Good morning, Ed. And first, she condemned Colin Kaepernick's national anthem protest. Now, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg is apologizing to him.
I saw that last night. Hillary held a fundraiser with Elton John in California, which was great until they showed up wearing the same suit, and that was just a bummer.
Henry is here.
I think it is real.
Henry. Nice to see you this morning, Ed.
Tucker and I do that all the time. So.
Of course we do. We're always
colors coordinating.
Like great by text.
Gotta own it.
So we want to talk about some of these leaked emails. We were talking before the break about a new bombshell that's come out in some of these emails, and that Hillary was pushing the Muslim Obama narrative back in 2008. Here's a look back at Clinton, Trump. Who's to blame for the birth controversy?
Finger pointing.
Yeah, watch this.
Trump first gained political prominence leading the charge for the so-called birthers. He promoted the racist lie that President Obama is not really an American citizen.
Do you know who started the birther movement? Do you know who started it? Do you know who questioned his birth certificate, one of the first? Hillary Clinton.
He used this phony issue about where he was born. There was definite proof. We knew where he was born. It didn't matter. Trump kept beating that drum.
Hillary Clinton and her campaign of 2008 started the birther controversy. I finished it.
So what do we know from these new emails?
This has been going on for 8 years.
Right, and it won't end, right? I mean, basically, in these emails, John Podesta's hacked email, you see that there were actually notes going back and forth about what could be used against Barack Obama in 2008, and one of them was his father was a Muslim. And so people are holding this up now and saying, aha, the Clinton people in 08 were going back and forth on pushing this narrative. What the Clinton people say is Paul Begala, who you know very well, who was running a super PAC, a Democratic super PAC in 08 that supported all Democrats, he says, not just Clinton, but whoever was going to be the Democratic nominee. He says they were testing out different narratives the Republicans were pushing to say, would this work against Obama in a general election? And if you look at the email, it's marked McCain survey or something like that, since he was the Republican nominee.
And we have that email we can look at. This was from back in 2008 from Christy Fuchsa. Says, we have reworked the Obama message into the survey as requested. On the list of negative facts, we need to cut one, since we separated out gay adoption and his use of cocaine.
Oh, that too.
So we want to separate
your
them.
suggestions.
They're basically saying that these are
throwing things out
these
there.
These are both too good. We need to break them out as separate questions.
It's hilarious.
Can't combine.
And so, look, I'm trying to give you, this is what their explanation is, to be fair.
Well, I mean, no one has ever answered that. I mean, I understand why
they're still raising it.
Why it's stupid and pointless and we're wrong. Racist? They never explain why it's racist exactly. But here's another email from Christy Fuchsa. Obama, and by the way, it's spelled out phonetically, Obama. His father was a Muslim, and Obama grew up among Muslims in the world's most populous Islamic country, not to put too fine a point on it.
Right, and so that's really the point, when you say a finer point, which is that, yes, Donald Trump's gotten batted around for, oh, you were holding up these kinds of things, you know, could he have been Muslim? When the Democrats were doing some of the same in 08, according to John Podesta's email.
But anyone who was covering the campaign heard this all the time. Like, the Obamas are secret radicals, you know, Michelle Obama's a lunatic.
The photo being released, the photo of him in the garb.
Look, I think the broader point is...
But they're best friends now?
Right, they're besties. No, is that if you go through these emails, there's more than 10,000 now that have been hacked. There's a whole series that shows something in private happening that's different than what's happening in public.
Right.
In fairness, if you went through the Trump campaign email right now, there'd be some things they're talking about in real time that'd be a little different than their narrative in public.
And as I was saying earlier, it's like reading like the Game Change books, but during the campaign. Because normally you get all this gossip after the fact.
Look, I mean, you've got emails going after Catholics, going after Hispanics, the very same people Hillary Clinton is courting right now and doing very well with, and running on a theme of stronger together. We're all going to hug, and we are the world, and they say Donald Trump is the most divisive figure, but then when you read the emails, there's a little bit of division on the Democrats.
Identity politics is inherently divisive, so like, that's are you coming back tomorrow?
I'll be back tomorrow. You know what? You deserve a day off.
Thank you, Ed Henry.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to step in.
You know what you're going to do? You're going to do a better job. So if you want to see a real show,
if you want to go home right now, I'll stay.
Ed, great to see you this morning. We got to watch this. We got Janice Dean in a canoe outside.
Hello. He is in a canoe. I thought you were joking.
Welcome to Fox and Friends Weekend.
Love it. Hey, Janice.
And we're going to do some fishing. Me and Tucker Carlson are going to do some fishing later on today, so you want to stay around for that. Okay, while I rest in my kayak or canoe, whatever it's called, let's take a look at the temperatures. A little chilly here across the Northeast, 46 in New York, looking at 60s in the upper Midwest. And then we've got cooler temperatures across the Northwest because we have a series of storms that are going to impact the Northwest as well as Northern California and then eventually the Northern Rockies. A couple of these storm systems, one of them originated from a typhoon, so we could see winds in excess of 80 miles per hour with this storm system. We could actually also see the potential for 2 feet of rain and 2 feet of snow in the highest of elevations. But the really dangerous threat here is not only going to be the flooding, but the gusts of 80 mile per hour plus winds. So there's a look at the rainfall along the coastline and again the snow in the higher elevations. I'm just going to sit back here in my kayak or canoe and wait for you guys to come on out here.
Wow. Janice Dean, you are the happiest morning person I've ever met.
Well, look at the setup we have today.
I love it. She is. She's really one of the happiest people.
In general.
Who doesn't want to wake up to Janice Dean?
I agree.
You guys are the best.
Janice. Well, we're just days away from the final presidential debate. It's next week in Las Vegas. Will there be more moments like this that could potentially change the course of the election?
Maybe he doesn't want the American people, all of you watching tonight, to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes.
That makes me smart.
Look back at some of the pivotal moments of the debate so far. Next.
And the Clinton campaign can't seem to stop hackers from breaking into their email. But you can. Kurt the Cyber Guy is here with how you can spot the cyber threat before you click. That's next.
NBC cutting a deal with Billy Bush after trashing his character in public.
How about a little hug for the Donald? He just got off the bus.
Like okay, absolutely. Melania said this was okay.
Reports this morning say Bush will accept a multi-million-dollar settlement, $10 million, to leave the Today Show after someone at that network leaks the tape to the Washington Post. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg flip-flopping on her defense of the national anthem protest by NFL players.
I think it's really dumb of them. Would I arrest them for doing it? No. I think it's dumb and disrespectful.
She currently sits at the Supreme Court. The justice now apologizing for those comments, saying she was, quote, too harsh after being criticized harshly by the left. Abby?
All right, thank you, Tucker. Can you believe it? The final debate is just 4 days away now as the candidates prepare to face off one last time. We are taking a look back at some of the most pivotal moments. Here to help us out, political commentator Erin McPike. Erin, always good to see you.
You too.
Thanks for waking up so early. All right, let's go through some of the most memorable moments so far in these general election debates. Let's play this first one, Clinton's comments on Trump's fitness to serve. Take a look.
With prior Republican nominees for president, I disagreed with them on politics, policies, principles, but I never questioned their fitness to serve. Donald Trump is different. The question for us, the question our country must answer, is that this is not who we are.
So, Erin, this fitness to serve topic is going to come up again in Las Vegas on Wednesday night. How do you think her answer there resonated with voters?
Look, I think it was a really important question for her to be asking, and it is the argument that she's been making. She also didn't bash the entire Republican Party, which I think is a really important thing because, as everybody has been saying the last couple of weeks, they think she's probably going to win. So I think that sets her up better to work with the Republican Party if she is, in fact, elected president.
All right, so the taxes. We know that has been hashed out before. It's probably going to come up again. When you remember this moment, Trump talking back, saying he was smart not to pay federal taxes. Take a look.
Maybe he doesn't want the American people, all of you watching tonight, to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes.
That makes me smart.
So this was a moment, it reminded me of Donald Trump during the primaries, and the reason you could argue why he won the primary.
Yeah, because it was refreshingly honest. Think about if Mitt Romney had been faced with that question, he probably would have tied himself in knots. I would say that I'm looking forward to Chris Wallace really pinning him down on Donald Trump having said that he's so smart that he knows the tax code better than anybody and he would fix it. I want to see Chris Wallace really go after him on that piece of it, how it would affect millions of American voters.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to watch. So you remember this moment, and I'm sure that Clinton just came up with this on the spot, the trumped up trickle down economics. Let's take a look at this.
We also, though, need to have a tax system that rewards work and not just financial transactions. And the kind of plan that Donald has put forth would be trickle-down economics all over again. I call it trumped up trickle-down because that's exactly what it would be.
What was your response to that?
So I don't think she delivered it particularly well, but
you know she rehearsed that a number of times.
Of course. Yes, of course she did. And in any normal election cycle, that's the moment that we would see played over and over and over again because they obviously did plan it. But look, Donald Trump has been going around making himself appeal to the working class. And I think she really went after that, saying, you know, actually, he's just sort of the same sort of Republican thing you're seeing in the past. He would do the same thing with his tax plan.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch. Erin McPike, always good to see you. Thanks for being here.
You too. Thanks.
And of course, you can catch the final debate right here on the Fox News channel, moderated by our very own Chris Wallace. It is this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You don't want to miss that. Coming up, Mike Huckabee says the new attacks on Donald Trump are the same attacks that he suffered in Arkansas. The former governor joins us live at the top of the hour. You don't want to miss that. And the Clinton campaign cannot seem to stop hackers from breaking into their email. But apparently you can. Kurt, the cyber guy, is here with how to spot the cyber threat before you even click. That is up next.
Well, just last week, the Clinton Foundation had to warn donors about targeted hacking attempts to steal their personal information.
And that is not the only organization that has criminals posing as real companies. Nearly 500,000 unique phishing sites that were found in just this quarter alone.
So what can you do to protect yourself from being tricked? Let's ask Kurt the cyber guy. Kurt, nice to see you this morning.
Hey, good to see you. Those are new fake sites, too. Right. I mean, it's a massive problem. It's 61% this year.
So let's talk about what exactly does a phishing email look like? It's very hard to tell the difference.
It looks identical to the real thing. If you were to surf to, say, your bank website or go to, I don't know, the FBI's website, it's going to look exactly the same. Phishing is simply designed, whether you're a politician and you're breaking into, or you're a Russian and you're breaking into a politician in the U.S. email system, or you're just every person in this country who's getting an email that, I mean, this happens multitudes of times.
What do they look like?
They look so serious and real, but they're not. They're fake. They're designed to steal something from you.
So like a PayPal email, for instance, we've got a list of people like Facebook, IRS, the FDIC, FBI. You got an email that has, like, you know, the letterhead on the top of it. Click this link to confirm your password.
Yeah, those are some of the popular ones that are going around. PayPal,
I get those
Facebook.
emails all the time.
Right. So here's the deal. You need to do the number one thing. Ask yourself, did I ask for this email? Did I request this email or this text to be sent to me? And if the answer is no, don't open it, delete it, see you later. If you have any question, you're like, well, I don't know, maybe I did. Call the bank, call the other company directly, or go and dial up the website yourself on the browser.
Go to PayPal's website. Don't just
hit
click on
the
the email.
link.
Go to the website.
Yeah.
So just by opening it, you infect your computer? Is that
yeah. That's exactly.
You don't
so
have to
there's payload.
respond to the email.
Yeah, you can just simply open it. As soon as an image displays, it could even be an invisible image that could contain something that then gets into your computer,
What are they
such as
wanting
malware.
to do? I mean, like, I think about myself and others. If they actually got it, if I responded to these emails, what are they wanting to do?
Well, they want to steal your money, number one. Number two, they want to get your credentials. They want to build up a portfolio of everything about Abby, and as soon as that portfolio is big, suddenly that's valuable when they bundle that together and sell it on the underground market.
All right, let's do something. You have a little quiz
Yeah,
here
let's do
for
some
us.
quiz. All right, can you tell whether this is fake or if this is totally legit? First one right here is, this came and I clicked it, and that's a Facebook page. Looks very legit to me.
That looks almost exactly like the Facebook login. And Tucker, you'd know that. I mean, that's
It's all it
never
uses.
been on it. Yeah.
But I don't recognize the
fake?
picture to the left, though.
that looks real.
Let's look.
Real or fake?
Fake. Up at the top, you look really at the fine print right there. Guess what? It does not say Facebook.com. It says some other address. So be very careful and look at the web addresses. Make sure that they would say what it is. And
So if it says Bookface, that's totally fake.
yeah, that would be a bad one.
What about this one?
Take a look at this one. This is real or fake? That's from PayPal, right?
That looks real. I mean, it looks like the emails that I get.
I don't know. Or no, that's Chase.
Oh, that's Chase. Okay.
All right, is that real or fake?
It looks with their logo. You'd easily think if you're a Chase customer, that's mine.
Answer is
false. It's got to be fake, right?
Let me get my stamp out here.
That's
Totally
real.
legit.
This is why it's so hard.
And you know that how?
Because you actually call Chase up and they answer it, or you look and you can hover over the addresses and they match the web address. But that's so suspicious. You just really want to delete something you didn't ask for and then call for more. And there's more on Facebook.
Governor Huckabee is going to be up next. We're going to quiz him with some of this, too.
There you go.
Thanks, Kurt. We'll be right back.
What's it like to be in good?